left off, we were having a little bug with the last checkpoint not turning green, and it was kind of just a mess up in the logic here, which is good because it's good to show kind of how to fix bugs and how to find them and go through the logic. If I play this with what we had here, hit that one, you'll see that it's going to do it, but it's going to turn it, it's not going to turn it green, it's going to keep it blue. And the reason for that, it still did the time, but I was clamping this at 3, and 3 was going to be the length of this minus 1. And so even if I went to go do it again and it wanted to go to 4, I wasn't stopping it, but I was keeping it at 3, so it was calling the activate on 3 all the time after, even if it was going to the next one. And my checkpoint on activate sets that to pulse, so it was triggering in that. It was setting it to checked, and then right after that it was activating again and setting it back to pulse. So it just looked like it was at pulse all the time. So in the game main, what we want to do there is instead of clamping this, we're going to want to just say, if you're past this, you can't go anymore. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to actually add this and set it here. But after I set it and add to it, I'm going to check the value and make sure it's the right thing. Delete. And what I want to do with that is, after I add to it, I want to come down here and say, are you less than? I can't do this off of an int because we don't have the nodes for int less than yet. We'll get them. I'll say, are you to float? I have to set this to a float to use this. And are you to float? So if this is less than the length of the array, not less than or equal, but less than, if that is true, then I can come through and actually set this to that. And now it says, well, after it happens, I'll do the things I need to do, but I'm not going to call set active again, so that it doesn't set its color back to blue, which is what we're doing in the set active. You see now it turns green, and it was just a logic problem there. So fixed it by checking for that, which is good because we're going to have to check to see something else when it goes over. This is a good check for us, because if this is false, we're pretty much done at that point. This tells us if we're done at this point. If it can't do it again and it doesn't want to activate, then we're going to be done. And we're going to say, open up the gates. I made the gates off camera. I made the gates closed and put an animation on them, which you'll get in the package, so it'll work correctly. So right now, if I fly through, even if I get all the checkpoints here, you'll see that this gate's still going to be closed. I'm not going to be able to get into it. And I want this gate to open when it knows that I've got all of the checkpoints here. So we're going to first get that gate to open, and then we're going to tell it to open when we need it to. And then understand that we've actually hit this point to end this. So our finish area is right here. Finish area, if I select it, you're going to see that it selected this finish area, and this is what I want to deal with for opening and closing these gates here. It has an animator on it, and I basically want to know if I'm at the last checkpoint, I want to open this. So where do we check to see if we're at the last checkpoint? Well, we do it right here. We check to see if you're at the last checkpoint. And I didn't do my math completely correctly, but it should be, if false happens here, we should be able to say, just put yourself in this state and play the right animation. So let's get this thing ready to play an animation if we need it to. I'm selecting this object. It does not have a behavior on it, so to talk to it, script with it, I need a diagram behavior. I'm going to open that up. And here on start, I can do this. And I don't necessarily want to do this right when it starts. I want to do it when I want to tell it to do it. So I'm going to add my own function again to tell it you need to change your animation to something else. If I go look at the animator for this, here's the animator, I'm going to double click it. Here are all the states: inactive, area active, and I'm not going to deal with landing. These are kind of advanced things that happened in the game itself. I'm just going to deal with inactive and area active, finish area active. So I want on this behavior, which is on the finish area, I need to talk to the animator. Animator type variable. I'm going to call it finish anim. Create that. It's none. I need to have this selected and then bring in the animator so I can talk to it. And if I just brought this in and on start, told it to play the animation, as soon as the game started, it would start playing the animation for open it. But I don't want that. What I want is my own function, and this should be pretty familiar. This is going to be activate finish. And in activate finish, I may need to do a bool in here to make it active, but right now I just want to show you how we can open this. I'm going to add this to graph, pull off, and I want to play an animation. And the state name was finish area active. This is the one I want. Finish area active. And I want to do that. So, when do I want to do this? Well, I want to do it when the last thing is hit. And I should know that by saying, if I come in, if this is 0, and I call this once, it's going to be 1, and it's going to activate 1. If I do when we're on the 1, it's going to activate 2. And once it's on 3, it's going to activate 3. But I'm saying if, only allow it to happen if the current CP, so if this was at 2, and I say is 2 less than 4, this is going to be 4. If it's less than 4, it will allow me to do this, and this is just the length. If it's less than 4, that's fine. And then if that will go to 3. If 3 is less than 4, that's fine. If this isn't going to do it, I actually want it to open that object. So I'm going to create a new glyph behavior so that I can talk to end behavior. So that I can talk to that. This is my end behavior. And I probably, if I was just staying in here, I could probably continue to do that, but I'm going to go find this like I did here in game start. I'm going to find an object like I did in the checkpoint, actually. See, in the checkpoint start, I went and found an object named game main so I could dynamically handle that. So in game main, after I do all of this, and I can show you a sequence here so we can get some organization going on. I'm going to take all this, I'm going to move it kind of up here. Oops, the wrong thing. And what I want to do now is I want to break this up so I'm not constantly going off the edge of the page. And I can do this with something called a sequence. So if I type in sequence, I can do this. And all this does is allows me to break up the flow of how this works. And I can comment this actually later. If you wanted to see how I could comment something, I could add a region in here. I could bring this region up to where I wanted it. And drag it out over here. And in this region, I can name it and say, set first checkpoint to active. And I could even get fancy with it and make that green if I wanted to. Set first checkpoint active. And that's so you know what you're doing there. And now I want to get the end goal and fill in my behavior here for my end behavior. So I'm going to do a find. find by name. And the name I have is finish area underscore 2L. It has to be spelled correctly. Finish area underscore 2 capital L. When it finds that object in the scene, I'm going to get the game object. And off of this game object, I can get component. And the component I want off of that game object is a glyph behavior. And the one I want to set up is end behavior. Now remember, this is going to happen dynamically, so this variable right now does not understand that it's an end behavior, so I can't see its functions. So I have to take the end behavior, and I can do it out of here, or I could find the, I could do it from the prefab. I'll just do it from here for now. No, I'll do it from the prefab. Finish area 2L prefab. I can drag that into, it doesn't know that it has a behavior on it because I did not make it a prefab. So I'll just use this one for now. I don't want to do that. I'll make this a prefab. And now it knows that it has a behavior on it. If I scroll down here, it knows it has a behavior on it. So game main, this finished here. I'm going to drag that in. And now this is going to know what it has. It has those variables I added to that, I can see from here now. Activate finish. That's not what I want to do. I want to actually just fill that in. That's exactly what I do. When this happens, fill this in so that it knows later on when I use it in this advanced CP. I should be able to, I'm kind of off script here, but I should be able to add this to graph and activate finish if this isn't true. If it goes through here and does all the things to activate it, that's fine. If not, it's going to come to false. And that should activate if I'm at the end of that. Let's double check. If not, it's just a one logic off I need to do. Nope, it did it. Activated that, and I can come into here now. So we'll go over that logic again. I got my finish area, and I needed to tell it to play an animation. So I created my diagram for it, and I want it to do it when I want to tell it to do it. So I made a function, made a variable to talk to its animator, and said, when I call you, I want you to change your animator to play the finish area active function. Once it had this function, I went into game main, and when the game started, I added this execution thing here so that I can kind of clean this up. When the game started, find the object called finish area underscore 2L, find its glyph behavior component, and set this variable equal to it at runtime. And then I drugged the prefab into this so that I can see the toys that I'm working with, because if I don't, if it doesn't know what's in here, if this is none, it doesn't know what variables to look for. And then in advanced CP, I said if you're less than the amount of actual things in here, that's great. But if you're not, you're at the end. That means you've gone to the end, and I wanted to call the activate on the finish area. And again, it will totally do this. And so now that I know that the game is over, at this point I know that I have no more checkpoints to do, and I know that I'm going to be able to come in here. And when I come in here, I want it to tell that I've actually broke this finish line and got into the landing spot. And that's when we'll calculate time and say, this is here is your time that you made. Great job. You won the game. You're super awesome. And we'll do that in another video.